Meghan Markle's dreams are finally coming true, guys. She got to go to a bigwig Hollywood red carpet, finally! After 4 years schlepping it in Hollywood, Meghan Markle finally got to fulfill her dream of walking down an actual red carpet, not the one Harry and Meghan make people put out for them. So she did this at the Variety of Women in Power event. And what was really fascinating when you go through all the pictures and Getty images, which I did, is that there is not a single celebrity there who took a picture with Meghan Markle. Even one picture where there were a couple people, I think from Variety itself, they literally cropped those other people out. And I'm just sitting there wondering, okay, are you cropping it out because you just want to focus on Meghan, Getty images, or are you cropping it out because the people of Variety going, yeah, we invited her, but we really don't want to be photographed with her or like promoted as being photographed with her. So it's a rather fascinating occurrence. I'm looking at this whole event. What's really critical here is Meghan Markle's interview with Variety on that red carpet, where she proceeds to say absolutely nothing and yet wants us all to feel. That is her and Harry's goal, is to feel. Well, Meghan, I'm so sorry, but I don't think that's a solid business practice, and most people don't like you. So I feel like the feeling you're going for is something that's just entirely out of reach. However, what I want to do today is I want to go over this interview because I think there's a lot of fascinating pieces there about what Meghan Markle's true goal is. And it goes to prove she never cared about the royal family. She never cared about being a royal. I don't think she even really cares that much about Harry. This is what Meghan has wanted, a Hollywood red carpet. Hollywood to pay attention to her. That is what she has desperately wanted her entire life. However, I think even still, even though she has been invited to this big event, they're still keeping their distance because everybody knows that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are a pretty toxic duo, and to be associated with them, you take a lot of risks. And I don't think most celebrities or even big companies are willing to take that anymore. So we are gonna delve into this today, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, you should subscribe. We are awesome here. I provide royal commentary about the latest news and look at the little bit of the drama going behind the scenes. I also have a newsletter, a fashion channel related to royals, and I actually just did a video talking about Catherine's engagement dress. It came out a little late yesterday, so probably didn't catch a lot of attention, but I actually have an East of London dress, so I sort of examined that, which was fun. And then when I was putting on this sweater today, which you can't see, the pretty little buttons right here, I realized they match my Ana Lucia diamond earrings, and I was so excited because I wasn't planning that at all. I was just looking for something to wear, and I do love this sweater. I love the classy little button detail here, which you can't see because my hair is curled, but hey, what can you say? And so if you're interested in Ana Lucia diamonds, they are lab created diamonds. I do have a link down below, and if you use the link and my code, you get 20% off. Let's talk about Meghan at the Variety event. And number one, absolutely, that is an ugly dress. That is an ugly dress. I'm so sorry. I try to give credit where credit is due. Like I said, Meghan's romper at the Invictus Games, the Zara romper, I actually did think that was kind of cute. And I noticed other things I think are cute occasionally, and I like sometimes her individual pieces, but that dress is awful. It is really quite awful. And there were some pictures where I was like looking at them going, ooh, I think I see some undergarments that are missing, which is not very great. And so overall though, I think the construction of the dress is awful. I think it's an ugly color. It's too long. It's literally dragging on the ground. And it needs to be one of those dresses that literally is just hovering. It must hover slightly above. Otherwise, it just looks weird. Like you can have some dresses, I think, drag on the ground a smidge. And I think it kind of works. This dress does not. I think it's an ugly dress. Just gonna say that right now. Feel free to disagree, but objectively, I don't like it at all. And I would be honest, guys, if I did like it. But the more I see it, and I was looking through all these Getty images, pictures of it, and the weird construction, because it has like a fabric stitch line down like the center in an odd angle. I mean, it's just an odd looking dress. And honestly as well, it's so stinking plain. And Meghan Markle is herself, her makeup, her hairstyle, everything is so stinking plain. That dress needed something. Meghan Markle's outfit needed something. Otherwise, it was just sort of a bag. It just wasn't that flattering, and I don't think it was even particularly flattering on her, really. So I just don't think it was a great look for sure, especially when she moves. Sometimes the white paneling underneath comes through, and I'm like, oh, That's just not a good look. I think actually that dress, I think there's a version of that dress that is a jumpsuit. I think that would have worked much better here because it seemed like more people were wearing sort of cocktail attire and not full length gowns. And so again, you almost get the feeling Meghan Markle's overdressed for the event. And that is, of course, Meghan Markle's style. That is her thing, is going to an event and trying to remind everybody that she is a duchess. They even had pictures on Getty Images that I found of her place setting saying, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. And I'm like, why? She couldn't even point Sussex out to you on a map. She can't. So I think it's really silly for Hollywood to keep indulging her in this way. And she got invited to this event because I think she was sort of named a woman of power in 2022. That was the big Variety interview she did. Harry and Meghan have definitely used Variety as a mouthpiece for some of their industry things, industry quote unquote, which they don't really work in because they don't really produce anything. Or at least anything that does particularly well, except for if they're riffing off the royal family. But what I found most fascinating, of course, is Meghan Markle's interview. And yes, there was a moment where she's standing on the red carpet and she's so excited. And an assistant tries, I think, to move her. And she kind of goes, yes, mm-hmm. But you also can feel the, don't move me, I'm on my red carpet. And you listen to this interview and just watching it overall, I'm showing you guys some video of it. It's just so incredibly evident how contrived Meghan is. Meghan cannot fake sincerity. She's not good at it. And she cannot fake this red carpet. Like, she's overdoing it so much. Like, you feel it. You feel it. And it's just so incredibly evident, especially if you watch it without the interview itself. You just see it. So Meghan Markle, she can't even act well when she's trying to do an interview about herself. She can't do it. I think a lot of all Hollywood is somewhat like this. A lot of what they do to a certain extent is sort of fake, but some people can actually fake it and make it look good. Meghan Markle is not one of those people. She cannot fake it and make it look natural and nice. She's overdoing the smile. She does that so much that it is very distracting. And you can just tell they're very scripted responses. She knows exactly what questions they're going to ask. And of course that happens a lot on Hollywood red carpets, but not all the time either. And it's a person's job to be able to answer whatever questions are put to them. And she was asked very banal questions and of course gave her word salad response, which means everything and then also absolutely nothing. And it shows so much how this is what she wanted. I want you to watch these clips and as I narrate and stuff and just kind of realize that this is it. Meghan Markle didn't care about Harry, really. Harry was a means to an end. No matter that she had to use and abuse his family and country to make it happen, Meghan Markle wanted to be at that Variety event. She wanted to be with the big wigs of Hollywood because she couldn't do it on her own. One of the things I find most aggravating about Meghan is that she seems to always claim that this was her doing, this is her success. Oh, no, honey. This is Harry. You're only there because of the man you married. You can't be a feminist while also riding your husband's coattails. You have to actually do something yourself. But Meghan Markle, she is not a creative person. She is not a person who can create something new and engaging. She is not that. That is not her skill set. And so she is struggling. Her and Harry are struggling massively in this industry because she never had the chops to make it in the first place, and a royal title doesn't change that. It doesn't. And so she's floundering. And so she does get to go to these things occasionally, but you gotta wonder if they're sort of sitting back there nudging side to side going, can you see it? Yeah. And again, just want to point out that there were a lot of celebrities that took pictures with each other. I could only find one person who was pictured with Meghan Markle, and that was the person who was the head of basically the Oscars. And you just wonder, is she gunning for an Oscar? Is she gunning for her and Harry's projects to get an Oscar? Well, honey, the first thing you got to do is actually produce a project. But she can't seem to do that. And I think that's the biggest issue for her going forward, is that she doesn't have the talent compared to the rest of the people there. And even though she might have great conversations with these people and she might be able to really engage with some of the big wigs of Hollywood, which seemed to be who she was sat with, she wasn't sat with actors or actresses. They sat her with basically executives, which is sort of interesting when you think about it, maybe because they think she's an executive producer, but she hasn't really produced much of interest or note or uniqueness. And so let's go ahead and take a listen to the interview after my very, very long intro here.
Congratulations. We're so happy to have you here because you are one of our Power of Women honorees. You are one of our alumni. And we're so thrilled because this is a night that is about supporting women. Why has that been so important for you to have that support and to give that support back?
So we obviously get a very, very long question for the woman. And of course, Meghan Markle, you're one of our alumni. It's like, oh, I'm so thrilled. And I'm sure she is, and I'm sure it's somewhat an honor. But at the same time, too, we all know this Hollywood just pats each other on the back and gives each other meaningless awards all the stinking time. That's all these people do, is give each other meaningless awards. Not that they don't have value to the person, but that overall in the grand structure of the world, they're meaningless. They're basically an industry that just gives awards to each other all the time. That's what they do.
Oh gosh, I mean, this industry is just so special, and you see how many women use the platform that they have and just channel it for good.
So use the platform that they have. And you can see Meghan there, she's sort of subtly clapping herself on the back. But I also want to go, Meghan, you do know that the only reason you're there is because of your husband. No other reason. No other cast member from Suits is there. I don't even know if any of them have ever been invited to this event. You are there because you are married to Prince Harry. No more, no less. So supporting women and everything, I don't think she really even supports women that much because we've seen how she's treated her friends, her relatives, her in-laws. We've seen how she's treated other women, and it's generally not very good. And I will say as well, her Sussex stands on Twitter also do not treat women very well.
And I think as the more we support each other, it just amplifies the work, amplifies our community. I'm just thrilled to be back in it and to be able to sit in this room, be in such good company tonight, and also to focus so much on how it's the crossroads of entertainment meeting philanthropy.
Entertainment meeting philanthropy. What does that mean? Because I feel like her and Harry are trying to do that, but that is a dead-end street. That doesn't lead anywhere. Because to really be, I think, a good philanthropist, you have to have a lot of money in the bank, which Harry and Meghan do not. Harry had a good chunk of change from an inheritance, and Meghan, I think, put most of her money into her PR the entire career. And so now what you have is they now have this Hollywood life. They have this mega mansion that they got to pay for. And I don't think that makes much sense. It can't be entertainment and philanthropy. So, I mean, you can have documentaries that encourage people to support a charity or something like that, but I feel like those are few and far between. Like the big documentaries, the good ones, investigate a great story. That's what they do. And if there is a foundation you can support or something like that through it, hey, fantastic. But you have to have a good documentary to start with. And Harry and Meghan have yet to create a good documentary. And again, the contrivedness of it, you just feel, it just screams contrived.
So really close to my heart. It's gonna be a fun night.
It's going to be a really good time because it's full of women whose art has inspired us all this year.
I love the women whose art has inspired us this year. But what art has not inspired us? Meghan Markle, because she has not produced any art. She doesn't compliment Meghan Markle on that. She goes into something entirely different. Something Meghan Markle did years ago. Years. And it's closer, the work that she's talking about is closer to a decade old than it is now.
But I will say, I'm sure you've probably noticed that a certain show, Suits, has become a phenomenon.
Suits was never a phenomenon. She's like, it's a phenomenon again. It's not a phenomenon. It wasn't a phenomenon when it first aired. It just happened to get a resurgence during the strike. It was back on Netflix, but it was never this huge thing. It just wasn't.
Yet again on Netflix, 45 billion minutes have been watched.
Is that right?
45 billion as of this week. We just found out 24 minutes ago.
I love how she said, we just found this out 24 minutes ago. Yeah, because I'm sure Meghan Markle's PR person came up to you 24 minutes ago and go, ask her about Suits. It has had 42 million or whatever billion minutes viewed. Ask her about that. Don't ask her about Harry, the royals, any of her own stinking projects. No, ask her about a project that has been completed for years that she just happened to be a part of, but had no really creative control over.
That is the number.
Who's counting?
But literally, who's counting? What do you think is behind this renewed love for the show? Why has it become such a phenomenon again?
I have no idea.
Like, how has this become a new phenomenon again? She's like, I have no idea, but I am hopefully getting all my residuals and going to the bank. Although I don't know how much residuals they are actually getting. I probably would imagine not that much, because it'd just be curious to know exactly how, like, again, there's a lot of confusion about kind of what streaming companies are actually receiving in terms of monetary gain, because actually streaming is not a money bank like they initially thought it would be. A lot of these companies, they invested a lot of streaming and it just doesn't have the large return. And Netflix they were going into a lot of debt in order to pay for their projects.
It was great to work on. Such a great cast and crew. We had a really fun time. I was on it for 7 seasons, so quite a bit. But it's hard to find a show you can binge watch that many episodes of these days, so that could have something to do with it. But good shows are everlasting.
I watched the first episode. I wasn't impressed. I mean, still people watch it, but again, people were bored. It was the summer and they needed a new show. So I don't think necessarily, and I will give Meghan credit here. She doesn't talk about how great her acting was and how great the role was. She just talks about how great the show was. Again, very, very Hollywood, because that's who Meghan is. She is Hollywood and nothing else.
That's what you're doing now. You have now come into Hollywood in a professorial capacity.
Professorial capacity? How in the world is Meghan Markle coming into Hollywood as a professorial capacity? If that's what I'm understanding right from her question, because the woman hasn't done anything. She hasn't done anything. She was never this great success to begin with. So why are you all of a sudden going, well, she's a professor now? Professor requires expertise. You have to know things. You have to discuss things. You have to analyze things. You have to be a professor, which means you actually have to be an expert in something. As far as I know, the only thing Meghan is an expert in is wrecking family relationships. That seems to be the epitome of her expertise.
What is inspiring you? And as you're kind of looking to make these new projects, what is the thing that is, driving the work that you're going to put out into the business?
I love that she's asking you this question when Harry and Meghan have 3 projects, 3 documentaries. I would say 3 actual Hollywood things. 2 of the 3 have been absolute flops. I would say the Invictus Games documentary did better than, let's say, oh my gosh, what was it? Live to Lead. It's so banal and boring. Nobody ever watched it. I can't even remember it. And then, of course, the reality TV show. But the reality TV show was always going to do well because it trades off the royals. Harry and Meghan's true test, always what has been their true test, is actual other productions, which they do not have. They don't need to do documentaries anymore. They need to actually have a project, a creative project that does not trade off their royal titles, connections, anything. But they don't have any of that yet.
Things that make people feel, I was going to say good, but it's more than that. Things that make people feel something, right? And feel a sense of community.
That is stupid. That is a stupid comment. I'm sorry. We want to make people feel. Feel what? Feel a sense of community? Of what? What is your community? You've destroyed every community you've been a part of. You destroyed your family community, like both your own and Harry's. So what community? What community are you talking about? There is no community. Just going, we just want people to feel. Like, we just want people to feel. Feel what? That doesn't mean anything. That's meaningless. Feel like sad, happy, angry, upset, frustrated, joyful, encouraged, hopeful. I probably said a couple of those twice, but like, you want people to go into something and actually feel something. Like when I do these videos, I hope people feel educated. I hope people feel like they have a different thought that they haven't had before, like a different perspective. Like, I have things like actual tangible it's thoughts and feelings, but tangible things I want people to experience here. Harry and Meghan just want people to feel. Like, feel what? The hand on my leg I just put there, like frustration, anger, because most of the time what they make people feel is absolute frustration, anger, annoyance. Like, they are the most annoying people on the planet, and like, that is what people feel about them. So Meghan Markle, you need to be more descriptive other than saying we want people to feel. I'm sorry, I should pull back, but there's just something about that which I just find it so stinking annoying. That doesn't mean anything. Like, say something. Say something. She's not saying anything. This is what word salad is. It's that and she has this pause. She's like, feel, like, and you can tell that pause is so incredibly descriptive. Or the other possibility is that she doesn't have an answer because her and Harry have nothing. That's the other possibility.
But we have so many exciting things on this slate. I can't wait until we can announce them. But I'm just really proud of what we're creating. My husband is loving it too. It's really fun.
I love that she adds at the end, my husband is loving it too. You get the sense that she almost forgot to include Harry in anything. And she's like, oh gosh, gotta say he loves it too. because she loves it. She loves the idea of it. But honestly, right now, most of their projects, initial projects, they've had a fairly large number of them totally canceled out. And you're lasting, the Heart of Invictus came out in August, I think it was, which is about when I predicted it would come out, because it would come out right before the Invictus Games. And it was pretty bad. There were times where it was good. There were a lot of times when it dragged. And there were a lot of times where I just wasn't even sure what the story was. Because even a documentary, you must have a story. And I didn't know who the Heart of Invictus was. Because it started out a lot with Harry. Then it moved to Ukraine. And then moved to the other competitors. I'm like, and then one of the competitors, we went back to his hometown and we learned about his childhood and the trauma there and everything. And I was like, well, that's helpful, but how does that apply to the Heart of Invictus? How does that overall shape the narrative of the Invictus Games? I almost thought they had too many perspectives and couldn't narrow it down. And then there was also the attention that would the games go on because of COVID and everything, and they weren't even able to really get that together. And so I'm like, so I don't understand what the point is of the Heart of Invictus, because there is no central plot. It's all over the place. And so if you want a good documentary, must be based around a story. I've watched a lot of good documentaries. I love documentaries. I like the one on The Vow. I like that one. I like the one about the Cecil Hotel. I think that one's very good. I watch like true crime stuff all the time. And what makes something good is a really good story. And one of my favorites from Investigation Discovery is American Monster. I love that one because they show a lot of footage of the actual people involved in the case. I don't like the ones that reenact things. I like the ones where what you do is you interview a bunch of people and you piece the story together so it forms a cohesive narrative. It gives you threads of what's going on in the story, and then you get to something like, oh wow, I see. That is a good documentary. That is a good story. Harry and Meghan have yet to produce a good story, and that's critical. And I also think, again, they don't have anything. It has been a couple months since Heart of Invictus, and as far as we know, they have nothing on the docket right now. They have nothing. And yes, there are times where they don't announce things until like right before or something, but I don't think that strategy is particularly working, because you hear about Hollywood projects that were announced years and years ago, and sometimes they run into production hell and don't get finished. And sometimes, you know, may take 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and then it finally comes to fruition. You're like, oh, okay, I understand that. And so that Harry and Meghan seem to have no announcement on anything, I find a little disturbing at this point. The only thing we know for sure that they have, that they could be working on, is, I think it's called Meet Me at the Lake. It's a book that they got the rights to. Not they, though. I should amend that. It wasn't them who got the rights. It was Netflix on their behalf. So Netflix controls the rights to it, which means they don't trust Harry and Meghan, and they can pull it if they need to. Because I don't think Harry and Meghan had the money to buy it. And I think Netflix overpaid for that, by the way, because it sounded dumb. Sorry, I'm not a big romance novel person. I actually only pretty much read history books now. These are all like actual history books. And I actually prefer reading them to fiction, just because like they're actual like stories with actual people. Last like fiction book I read was Gone Girl, and I hated that book. I hated the ending of that book. Bad guys should never win in fiction books. That is I can read about bad people winning all the time in history. I don't want to read it in a book. That's supposed to be fictional and fun. That's my 2 cents for what you care. So anyways, that's all Harry and Meghan have as far as we know. Maybe they have a documentary coming up, but they've tried documentaries and they're not good at them. They haven't tried anything creative really, but we know they're not really creative. And so what is the future here? What is the future here? And I don't like the idea that you're not saying anything, because yes, I know there's negotiations and everything coming up, but you should at least saying, oh yeah, we have the script written for Meet Me at the Lake. We are getting ready to cast, you know, the strike is over and everything. That she doesn't have anything tangible, I think screams of problems. And then she clips Harry in at the end going, he's loving it too. And I'm like, I don't think he is, because he tried to talk to Spotify about what he wanted to do and they basically laughed in his face. So I don't think he's having a grand old time. And what was interesting as well, and I want to do a whole video just on this, is that again, she was not wearing her engagement ring, which I think screams of problems. And because there's no reason for her not to wear it. And as we know, just recently, we've had 2 major Hollywood marriages basically say that they've been separated for 6 years and just haven't told the public. That includes Meryl Streep and Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. So that is something that may be on the docket for Harry and Meghan, because I wouldn't be surprised if they actually follow a similar route. So let's listen to the last little bit here.
Here, anytime you want to make those announcements.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll get in touch then. Yeah.
We're thrilled to have you here as one of our honorees, our alumni. So nice to see you.
It's great to be
Thank you so much.
So yeah, nothing really going on. And we do have another little bit of an interview she did here, so go ahead and take a listen.
Oh gosh, I'm just so proud to be able to support the women that are here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here last year, but it's really special. So happy to be in such good community. Thank you, everyone.
But was she in that good a company? Because it didn't seem like anybody wanted to be around her. Again, the only person we have a picture of her with. Now, I went through all the Getty Images pictures, which were a lot, by the way. There was like 1,000. I kept scrolling through and it was like 20 pages, like, oh, come on. And I thought it was good because then I could see kind of where she was. And so just to give you an idea, the only person that actually took a picture with her was Janet Yang, the head or attached to basically the Academy Awards. And I look and took a picture through, and you have a lot of celebrities. You have Nicolette Sheridan, and you have Margot Robbie there, and just so many celebrities. And obviously, gift basket. I think that was Meghan's really exciting thing, is there's a gift basket. Because we know as soon as she had a little bit taste of Hollywood fame, she was going and getting those gift baskets. And so she was seated at table 12, and it was not at the table with Leonardo DiCaprio, because we do have a picture. She is actually on a table behind him. And as far as I can tell, based on the pictures I see of people, she was not there with anybody but Hollywood executives. Now, that could be seen as something good or not, but I just did think that was kind of interesting. And again, you saw so many Hollywood people taking pictures with each other and everything. And Meghan Markle really was sort of, you could say, almost left out. Even when there was a picture of her actually getting her picture taken on the red carpet, there was nobody around but the photographers. Because you could almost feel like everybody was like, Meghan's here, run for the hills. Because you don't really want to be attached to her because she's not good for your brand. And I think there was a picture that sort of encapsulated that. And that is this picture right here, where you could tell she's maybe a little miffed or maybe a little frustrated or something, that this event, although she got to go to it, it's exciting. Oh, she got to wear a $3,000 gown. Isn't this awesome? The people still aren't really paying attention to her. And they do all think of her somewhat as a joke. And again, Hollywood is very good at talking to people, talking people up. You hear this in interviews. They're always so gushing about somebody. But then once somebody does something wrong or somebody doesn't follow the right politics, all of a sudden they turn their back on them, lickety split. And that is definitely Hollywood. And so I think Hollywood people, yes, they invited her there. Yes, she spent time with them. But are they all that close to her? No. Were they sort of inviting her yet keeping her somewhat on the periphery? I would say yes, because she wasn't sat with Oprah Winfrey, Leonardo DiCaprio. She wasn't sat with the Hollywood bigwigs. So even as she has this Duchess title, and they even, took a picture of her, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, place card on the table, she's still considered even a joke by the industry. And that's because she hasn't done anything yet. You need to actually do something, Harry and Meghan. And just saying, well, we have a lot of projects in the works, that's kind of like Disney Marvel recently in an interview. It was Kevin Feige at the premiere of Marvels, basically telling people what we already knew, that Loki, the next Loki season was ending and the Marvels was coming out. He didn't really have anything else to announce because after a series of flops, Marvel is pretty much in panic mode at this point. And I think that is where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are right now. They are in panic mode. They don't got anything. I don't think they have it. I don't think they have it. And I think they're desperate to get somewhere, but unfortunately, they chose a career that neither one of them are suited for. And so all it was going to end in was disaster. And they could have avoided it entirely if Meghan Markle wasn't so desperate for Hollywood fame, fortune, and attention. If she actually had perhaps stayed as a working royal or done a couple of other things, maybe, just maybe, she might have succeeded. But here, not so much. And I think all of Hollywood knows it too. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.